Hi, it's Jane, and on today's What Whip and Coffee, let's discuss some things. My coffee is, I've been using Tom Horton's coffee, although I know I told you before my doctor wants me to switch over to decaffeinated. This is still fully leaded, although I will be purchasing the decaf to try it. I haven't tried. See, I vacillate between Tim Hortons original blend and McDonald's Colombian roast. I do like a dark roast. I don't think you can get a dark roast in decaffeinated coffee, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to try. But anyway, today in my coffee, I have a little bit of Jordan's Skinny Syrup in butter pecan. And my husband, before he passed away, got on this kick wanting the creamer butter pecan, the southern butter pecan, and we couldn't always find it. So we tried to find just a plain basic syrup, butter pecan, could not. And of course, the only one we could find was the sugar-free by Jordan Skinny Jordan, I think it's what's called. Skinny sugar-free. So we started using it, and I do like it in my coffee every once in a while. I don't use it all the time, but it's something different. Well, today I am working on yes, it's smaller. I'll discuss it. The lacy shawl that I had started. And I love my cats, I do. However, they got into one of my bags. Now, granted, I left it on the floor, so it's mostly my own fault. But I got up one morning to find my lacy shawl was all over the house, undone. Now, I had already filmed the lacy full stitch, which is what this shawl is done in. And in that, I had told you folks that I had started with 73 stitches, which is what it was. But I thought maybe I should have done it a little bit smaller. And so now I am doing it a little bit smaller. It's now 39 stitches. So thank you, kitties, for helping me out with that. Yeah, I just thought it was rather funny, them helping me out in that way. But maybe they watched the video while I was filming. Who knows? So yeah, I had to start over with it. But I don't know if you guys caught the eclipse or not. I know that most of the U.S. had a little bit of darkness. I think it started with 50% in most of the states. Here in Pennsylvania, we had anywhere from 97 to 100%, depending on where we were. And I was really worried about the cats because I had that the sunroom, craft room, which is mostly windows. So I was concerned that they would be sitting over there watching, and might wind up injuring their little cat eyes. But luckily, they did not, because they fell asleep and they slept through the whole thing. However, I did notice it got a little chillier, and it did get pretty dark here. So it was pretty interesting. I did enjoy it. It is, we do have another solar eclipses happen several times each year. However, the big issue is where the totality is, where you will be able to see the totality. Like the next one, I believe, is in October, and I believe it's going to be in I want to say African nations that are going to be able to see it, but I'm not positive. So if you have glasses, a lot of people are asking that you keep take those glasses and send them to an organization that can repurpose them so the children in those countries, third world countries, can view it safely. So yeah, that's a good way to recycle your glasses instead of just tossing them out. And of course, in the U.S., if you're lucky enough to live to 2044, 2045, we'll get another chance at being able to see the totality of the solar eclipse. I had posted on Facebook, I had shared Neil deGrasse's photo, supposedly, of the solar eclipse taken from space. Well, guess what? It got tagged by Facebook. Yep, as having misleading information, so they added some additional things to it in the post. I do find that funny. But, hey, whatever. You would think that you could actually use a scientist who would actually know whether they were real or not, as an idea for sharing his post. But apparently you can't even trust Neil deGrasse. Or Neil deGrasse, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah, I do. I thought that was rather funny. Had me laughing for a little bit, because I'm like, yeah, well, what are you going to do now? But happens to the best of us, I suppose. But I do have a friend who is a photographer. He used to live here in Pennsylvania. Since then, I believe he's moved to, I think it's Wyoming, if I'm not positive. He flew down to DFW, him and his family, so that they could witness it and he could give photos of it. He has some beautiful photographs of the event, the solar eclipse. And I just thought it was interesting. It's nice that he was able to bring his entire family, his younger kids. They could come and view it, all together as a family event, plus get a little trip out of it. Although he was a little unhappy because he initially had booked first class seats and he got bumped down and he was not happy about that. And I can understand. When I went on the cruise, I decided last year that I had decided I was going to do something for me and I was going to fly first class all the way. And it wasn't that much more because I'd booked so early. So it was cost effective, that kind of thing. But I enjoyed first class. It was nice. It's very comfortable. And it was nice being able to get on the plane right off and not fight for seats. And it doesn't matter where you sit on a plane. The seats are all going to be small anyway. But the only difference is first class, it's a little bit roomier. You have a little bit more leg room. Not much. I think the biggest difference was first class, there were 2 seats all the way down. And then when you get into the other classes, there are 3 seats across on each side. That was the biggest difference. So yeah, it was nice. And luckily, I had great people around me there when I had flown. One of the times I was by myself completely, had both seats available, which was great. Then the rest of the flights, the rest of the connections and everything were full. So yeah, it was nice. It was very interesting. And I was I enjoyed the trip. The only thing that I think is horrendous is the cost of things when you are in the airports. They jack those prices up, man. Generally just a 20-ounce Coke was like $5 something, $6. If you tried to go get a meal, meals were $25, and that was just for a sandwich. That wasn't for a drink, anything else. And that's the airports that do that, and that's highway robbery, and I think it should be stopped. Honestly, I do. I mean, they get their food vendors the same as we do. I don't think they pay that high a get out that high a wage to a lot of the workers. I might be wrong. That may be why they're jacked up so high. But goodness gracious, I was glad I had some snacks to eat along the way. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, those are some different things that kind of bothered me this week. And of course, you know the whole thing with the lawsuit. So that's been rather interesting dealing with that gentleman. So hopefully, and my lawyer told me it'll take probably 1 to 3 years to get sorted out. A lot of it is if I do indeed owe that kind of money, then there are a lot of missing invoices, and he needs to pony up those invoices. So, yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. What are you guys working on today? You know, I've been working on those hats steadily, and I have gotten about half of them done. But I decided, you know what? I am going to work on some other projects too, as well. So yeah, I am planning on doing that. I'm just a little burnt out with those hats, a little upset. Like I said, if it weren't for the children, I wouldn't redo them. Now, I hope all of you have checked out K&K Crochets, the Bumblebee Mountain thing for the hats and the scarves. That is another great way to use up a lot of our scraps. And I have tons of scraps, so I can make a few hats. And I do plan on donating to their cause. And it's in memory of KK's brother. So it's a good cause. So you can do some of that in the meantime, in between your boggy blankets. Wouldn't that be a good idea to do? Use up your scraps. Make some nice hats and scarves and send them on your way to KK and Chrisitian. I will leave the link down below to their channel as well. I'm going to try to remember that today. And I did remember the name correctly. I kept calling it Blue Mountain, and I knew it wasn't Blue Mountain. But it's a great cause. And I do know that Rose does something similar of Rose like yarn. She does hats and scarves, takes them in her car, and then when she sees someone that looks like they might possibly be homeless, she hands them out a hat and scarf. And that's a good idea to do. I have a friend who lives in Maryland, and what she does is she buys cases of Kind bars, and when she sees someone like that or a panhandler, she hands them a Kind bar. So, yeah. Although I'm kind of hesitant about giving people money, panhandlers. I don't know if I told you about my experience out of nursing school before, but if I did, bear with me. I'm going to tell you again. That's the thing about getting old. You can tell your stories over and over. When we were in nursing school, we had to take our boards in Albuquerque. I lived in Roswell, New Mexico when I was taking my boards. So you had to go up there for at least 2 days, possibly 3 days. It was only about 2.5, I think 2.5 to 3 hours to get there. So we drove up and stayed overnight. So my girlfriend and I had stayed together in the hotel, and we'd booked our rooms so that there were 2 people 2 to 4 people in each room. We had 2 in our room because she was kind of particular and didn't like to share. So, which I would have been fine having 2 in a bed, but she didn't want to, so we did it that way. And the tests were given over 2 days at a general place, probably a conference center if I remember correctly. And you had like 2-hour tests in the morning. You had a break, then you had another hour test, then you had lunch break, and you came back in the afternoon. You had a 2-hour test, and you had a break, and then you had another 2-hour test. So it was, a full day of testing. Well, while we were there, we also decided to go see some of the sights, of Albuquerque. And so we went down to Old Town to visit it, and there were panhandlers there. And we stopped and we were talking with the panhandler. And he was discussing with us, and we were, by this time we'd had a full day of testing. We were exhausted, and we were joking about maybe we would just go into fast food. Maybe we should go into panhandling. And there we found out at that time, and this is back in the 70s, panhandlers were making about $1,200 a day, sitting on the curb begging for money. So we kind of laughed about that. And of course, in the meantime, talked with a couple of guys, and they bought us lunch or dinner or whatever it was. And we had fun, and then we went to a tattoo shop to check out a tattoo. Found a beautiful tattoo that at the time I wanted to do. However, I couldn't afford it. The tattoo was $125, and it was about a quarter size, and it looked like a rose, but in the very center of the rose was a tiger. So yeah, that was my experience, and also my experience of talking with panhandlers. And ever since then, I was like, man, wonder how much they make today. I'm just curious. So yeah, I'm kind of hesitant about giving money out to panhandlers, that kind of thing. Just because of that, I'm always worried, that they're just taking me for a ride, taking my money, kind of like scammers, Scammers try to do that. I know I had told you about my scammer and the things that he was doing, posting that I supposedly had killed his brother. And this is on a page that he had created. So I had gone and complained about the post, that it was untrue information. And of course, Facebook came back. They weren't going to remove the post. I could contest it, which I did. And then they came back and said they still weren't going to remove the post. I could take it to a separate source, an outside source who is not part of Facebook, and have them review it. And I did do that. And they did remove the post. And they also suggested to Facebook that they delete this fellow because he was a scammer, which I'd already told Facebook that, but they really didn't give a flying flip. It doesn't go against their policy for scammers to make Facebook pages. But I will tell you, there is a telltale tale with a lot of scammers, and a lot of those are when you go to look at their Facebook pages. You will see lots of times one of the first things you'll say, go look at their post. One of the first things you'll say is so-and-so, like say James Jones, has just updated her profile picture. And then they'll come back and they'll correct it to say his, because they'll put in their gender, supposedly, that kind of thing. But then what you'll see are very few posts, real posts. You will see Probably a lot of things around God, religion, those kind of things. You'll see lots of dogs and cats. But one thing you'll also notice is most of their friends are either female, and if they're female, they're male. So that is a telltale sign that they most likely are a scammer. And so, something to watch out for. What did I do here? I got something messed up. That's a problem when you're talking. Get confused. Maybe I should stop yapping. That's not going to happen, is it? Nope, not going to happen. So yeah, those are some things to kind of look out for. But, I think it's funny. I have heard people tell me they think that Facebook is a safe place. It is not, these guys. It's not safe at all. You have to be careful. Scammers oftentimes will use religion as a way to get close to you. And then as one of, I don't know if I told you, but I friended a scammer. And this was a young person who had asked me not to delete him because he really just wanted a friend. So, and we've become friends and we talk almost on a daily basis. And many times he has told me a lot of things about the way that scammers do things. Scammers in a lot of countries, like Nigeria, Africa, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, they will use religion and they believe they are using spiritual means to get to you and to convince you that they are real people. So just be careful out there, folks. And like I said, they come male and female. And many times what you'll see is the males have a lot of females, don't have a lot of males as friends. The females have a lot of males and not a lot of female friends. And they don't always post frequently. So those are some clues. Always check out and always check their story. Many times they'll screw themselves up with their story, Of course, I do like to mess with them. So I do mess with them sometimes. But, and of course, one of the clear cues is within about 30 minutes, they know they're in love with you. They're calling you dear, honey. So yeah, those are some pretty clear-cut cues. And I will tell you what they do is they actually steal the photos and a lot of the information from real people who have Facebook pages. I did find that someone had created a page using some of my information. Of course, I alerted Facebook to it, and they did take it down because it did determine that, yes, it was false. But they also told me in the same thing that it doesn't go against their policies. So, yeah. Just be careful out there, folks. Don't ever give anyone any money, send them a gift card for anything, for their children, for nothing like that, because that generally is a scammer. If you're going to do it for real friends, real people, not scammers. Because, most likely they are feeding not only themselves, or they may even be terrorists. So that is, or drug cartels. So those are some things to watch out for with scammers. So yeah. And lately, I guess I've been taken off their radar for now, or either that or my name has been taken off the sale list for information. Who knows? And yes, our government sells our information. So our government is at fault for this. I kind of laugh about this whole TikTok government wanting to ban TikTok in the U.S. And I do understand a lot of people who have made money off TikTok, who make a living off TikTok, and don't want that to happen. But I look at it like this. What is the difference between TikTok gathering your information and Facebook gathering your information? You know, and then I'd seen a couple of posts where Facebook has turned over people's names to the FBI over concerns about their political views or their political statements. And, you know, the only reason that they're able to find you is because Facebook turned over your information. Which I find kind of sad that Facebook thinks that they need to be an arbiter in that way. I do understand if they are seeing terroristic threats that they probably do need to turn that over. However, some of these people that I've seen that had posted some of these things, they were not terroristic threats, they were just an opinion. So, yeah. That's something that we all need to be aware of and kind of keep an eye out for. It's frustrating to see those kind of things. Shouldn't be that way in these days, but I guess we are coming close to the end times, aren't we? For those of you that follow Bible prophecy. Some things that are happening that are crazy. I had seen a couple of posts. Let me get a drink here. And one especially that kind of worries me is this whole idea of going cashless. And I know our government is looking at it. Biden is pushing for a cashless system, which is sort of something that's interesting. But then again, you look at it, if you go a cashless system, everyone would have to have the ability to take money somehow or take that cashless system, be able to use it if they had garage sales, they go to fairs, they go to markets, they sell anything that way. They would have to have that ability, and that's kind of scary. We're already seeing that in Britain, some of the stores have gone cashless. Now, I saw a video where this one man came in. I want to say he bought bananas. He bought bananas with money, actual money, in a store that had gone cashless. And they kept telling him, you can't do that, you can't leave with that. And he said to him, I am paying with legal tender. I have paid you for my bananas. Now I am taking my bananas and leaving. And as he left, there were a lot of people that were cheering him on. So that's kind of scary that we've gotten to that thing where we're really seriously thinking of a cashless system. And with the cashless system, the government can control you completely. So that's kind of scary in itself. And you know, there is this theory going out there that with a cashless system, that is the mark of the beast. Because you would actually have to use that money to be able to survive, to buy your groceries, pay your bills, pay your mortgage, pay whatever. So yeah, that's kind of scary, isn't it? Then I'm going to use a lot of those to make some Boggy Creek blankets. But I thought I would also look at maybe doing some different stitches in a blanket. I don't know if you guys would be interested in doing that along with me. Who knows? One of the things that I am looking at also doing is possibly doing that um, 3-wedge shawl using scraps in the granny, using a type of a granny square cluster. Like I've told you before, I do find that if you use the 3 double stitches cluster for a granny stitch with this shawl, it doesn't look quite right. So I am thinking of using a different type of cluster for that, what I'm going to call a granny stitch. But I'm looking at thinking of doing that, filming it. I just trying to decide what fabrics I do want to use. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at there. With that one. And many of you may have recognized the 3-wedge shawl is simply, Ophelia Talks has done this shawl. She calls it the reading shawl. If you go and look at the reading shawl, I think she also calls one Abigail's shawl, where she uses different stitches. Those are just different ways to create this 3-wedge shawl. So yeah, it's very interesting. They do make beautiful shawls. They do drape a little differently than regular shawls. They are really good for anyone who is in a wheelchair. They're really also good for anyone who has a walker. One of those walkers that has a seat where they sometimes will use it, that way to sit like at a table or wherever they're at when they get tired, stop, sit down. It's also good for those walkers. I don't know if you've seen those where it's the upright walker, where they don't really have to bend over to walk. They are actually standing up completely straight. It's great for those walkers. Those walkers also have a seat built in so that if the person gets tired, they can stop, sit, and sit down. So that is a great shawl for those. Plus, it's just an interesting composition for a shawl, It's a different way to make a shawl. So, yeah, I have been looking at that. So, gathering the yarns for that, trying to decide whether I want to use the scraps or if I actually want to use some of those multitude of yarns that are back there in my stash. We all know I have plenty, scorched earth. Need to get down in there and get it done. So, yeah, looking at that kind of thing. Also, I was looking at, I did have a couple of people ask me to consider doing a couple more of these where I sit down and chat. They don't necessarily have to be WOTWIP and Coffee, but I thought about adding another one, on a little bit of a different side, different types of topics. So I am looking at doing that as well. And, our Jo of Jo's Web, she finally got to 3,000 subscribers. So go over and congratulate her. and as well as Billy, the crafty Floridian. She got to 6,000. So let's go congratulate her as well. Well, folks, I think I have talked your ear off long enough, so I think I'm going to move on. And I hope everybody has a blessed day. I hope your day is going well. It's a little cloudy here. It's supposed to be in the high 60s, but later on this week we're supposed to get into the 70s, which I'm excited about because I have some things I need to do out in the yard. Yep. So, yeah. As I say goodbye, I hope every one of you, like I said, has a great day. And I will see you again soon. And let me get my clicker, fell on the ground. I hate when that happens. But I'll see you guys again soon. Remember, be a little kinder to yourself, kind to one another. I'll see you guys again real soon. Oh, and I'm not sure. I think this Saturday, Connie and I are live with the weigh-in, but I'm not positive. Don't know if she's still going to do that or not. She was considering doing some other things. So if I see you Wednesday, I'll let you know in the community tab, that kind of thing, and in the Facebook group. But if you're in the Facebook group, start showing off your finished projects or things you're working on. I'd like to see those. I'm going to start adding a few pictures in today. So yeah, I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.